I want to talk about something that's been on my mind. I love this topic. I love the topic of marriage. When I was young, I observed a lot of things, good things and bad things, in other people's marriages, beginning with my mom. And sometimes what happens is when you pay attention, you're going to see, at least I did, what to do in a marriage when you get married and what not to do. As I grew up, I started to watch other couples as well, successes and challenges. And the art of marriage is a real thing. It is an art. I've been married. I got married when I was 24, and we are hitting our 24 years in just a few months. And when I got married, I met my wife, fell in love with her, and then I realized, what did I get myself into? And she probably thought the same thing. The first 2 years were very challenging. The wedding day is a beautiful day, but that's one day. And then the marriage begins. And for the first 2 years, we had a lot of good times, but at the same time, there's a lot of challenges. It's getting to live with someone, and people are different. Men and women are different. There are some men that are different from other men as well, and same with women. It's a personality thing. I should have began by saying, first of all, I'm not a counselor. If you don't believe me, ask my wife, and she'll confirm that I'm not a counselor. I'm not trying to be a counselor, but I like to share things in life, especially something as important as marriage, for those of you that are married or will be married. And that's at the 2-year mark is when I realized, okay, I have to make some changes, or this marriage will not survive. And I did make changes, and I'm still making changes today. And I'm not exempt at my point in life from challenges in marriage. I don't think that'll ever happen, because it takes work, ongoing work, and it takes work from both people, the husband and the wife. It's just the way it is. But here's the thing, if you invest in that marriage, in your marriage, and making changes and listening and communicating, in appreciating and celebrating, and also being there for the challenges, because marriage does have challenges, it's worth it. It's worth it. I speak from experience. If you have children or have children in the future, that's beautiful. But don't forget why you married your husband or your wife, because what's going to happen is your children will grow and they'll leave home, or at least that's the plan, that they become independent and move on and create their lives. That's the cycle of life. With marriage, you have to, like I said, continue to work at it. And if you do, it's going to pay off. My wife and I are empty nesters, and it's just her and I. Our daughter just came home a few days ago for the Christmas break. Our son and his wife were here, and our granddaughter, just for about 2 hours this morning. And, we'll see them tomorrow for dinner. And my son just got married 7 weeks ago. And he's probably going through things that I went through when I first got married. And some of those are the unknown. And how are you going to deal with the unknown? I can tell you how I dealt with it. Most of it wasn't good when we first got married. That was the unknown. But as you grow older, here's the beautiful thing that's happened to me is wisdom. And I'm going to do the right thing. And that doesn't mean that I'm going to make mistakes in marriage. But I appreciate my marriage, and I'm grateful for the marriage. And because of that, I am willing to change things that I need to change. And communication is very important. My wife and I went through marriage counseling when at the 15-year mark. And that was the best thing that we could have done, because we learned so much. We had these new tools to use, and now we had to know how to use the tools when the time came. And sometimes it's not easy. And, don't be stubborn in a marriage, because stubbornness, first of all, it's not cute, and it's detrimental to a marriage. Pride. When it comes to marriage, it's easy to love when you get a promotion at work, when you've lost 5 pounds, when you're going on vacation. Those are beautiful times. But what happens when the challenges come? And believe me, challenges will come in a marriage. And I can reflect on what I've done, the good and the bad, and it just gets sweeter and sweeter. And again, I have to remind myself, my wife and I do this often, that we are not exempt from challenges. Trust. What about trust in a marriage? Trust is, it's a beautiful thing and it's needed. Without trust, it's kind of like being in a boat without a paddle. You're not going to get far. So trust, don't take that for granted. And the beautiful thing about my marriage is that we never had any drama from the beginning, from previous relationships or previous people. We never had any of that. In fact, my wife and I were never boyfriend, girlfriend. I was leaving for the Air Force, and I liked her because she didn't nag me, and she's a good soul. So I said, hey, do you want to leave with me? And she said, I can't leave for the Air Force. I have a son. And I said, no, we can get married, and we leave. And that's how we began. Trust has always been there. And yes, we've had challenges with whatever topics may be, but the good thing is that trust was never one of them. And that's, I feel so blessed for that, because whatever challenges we've had, whether it's financial or communication or whatever, it was never trust. And I'm aware of that. And I think she is as well. Marriage is a beautiful thing, but it takes a lot of work. It's worth it to do the work. Sometimes we have to look in the mirror. Believe me, I've looked in the mirror at times in my life, in my marriage, and I've said, okay, this is what I'm doing good and this is what I'm not doing good. And communication is going to take you far. Communication has to be ongoing. Sometimes it's once a week, sometimes it's once a month, but it has to be ongoing. Don't shy away from that. I'm not saying be confrontational about that, but you know, be tactful when it comes to communication. Be loving when it comes to communication. Hopefully what I've talked about today helps. Pick your battles. Very important that we do that. I used to pick battles over small things when we first got married, and then I've realized with that wisdom that I talked about is pick your battles. A counselor once asked me, if your wife leaves shoes all over the house, is that going to matter in 30 years? Are you going to remember that? And I said, yeah, I'm going to remember that. And she was shocked. But, you know, I'm never above learning, and that's the beautiful thing. I'm constantly trying to learn things and how to make it better. Pick your battles is very important. It doesn't really matter unless you make it matter. And if you do and it becomes a challenge, then, again, that's part of looking in the mirror. Look at yourself, do an inventory of yourself and your marriage. Go out on date nights. See what's working, see what's not working, because you know, you don't want to be in a marriage that's been dead for 5 years or 10 years and where you're going through the motions, or you're doing it because of your children just to stay together. Think about it. Have a good day.